And as we transition to and welcoming Joel Scharlat with the Cyberbites Foundation and get ready to shift gears somewhat, but at the same time, also some of the work that they're doing with the Cyberbites Foundation is taking that next level, bringing out the education and the engagement and providing that experience. So Joel, quickly, you bring over 20 years of leadership and management experience in information technology, focused on leading edge emerging technology concepts, ideas, and products. Joel serves as the Director of Operations for the Cyberbites Foundation, a cybersecurity nonprofit. And in this role, he works closely with the board of directors to set the strategic vision and strategy of a startup nonprofit organization focusing on education, innovation, and outreach programs. Joel holds a Master of Science degree from the Naval Postgraduate School and is a retired Marine Corps officer. Joel, hopefully I did that fair justice. And in the short time I've gotten to know all the work that y'all are doing, I can say that I have been rightfully impressed. And so I look forward to you sharing that with everyone attending. If you have comments or questions, just drop them into the chats. And Joel, the floor is yours. Oh, Joel, I think we've got you on mute, or let's try that one more time.
It's that
there
red
we
button.
go.
All
Much
right.
better. Much better.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, for the introduction, and also to the ICS Village as well for allowing us the opportunity to tell our story here today. So what I wanted to talk about really was what we're calling sort of an ecosystem for a secure future, and really just give everybody an idea of what the foundation is and what we're about. A little bit about me, Liz mentioned, I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, 13 on active duty, the last 7 as a reservist. Split my time between being a helicopter pilot and then working in the communications field, which is where I really got introduced into the cybersecurity arena, if you will. Spent some time as a government contractor, and then had the opportunity to come over here and love the mission, love the idea, and so jumped over here. The foundation itself, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're located in Stafford, Virginia, so we're just outside the back gate of Quantico, and our mission there at the top is really to establish and sustain a unique cyber ecosystem. And as Liz mentioned, it's all about the education, the innovation, and the outreach and the programs that we develop around those. So the graphic here just really kind of depicts how it's all related, and I'll go into a little bit of detail here in the following slides. But the 3 programs that we have here, we have the Cyberbites Academy in the bottom right-hand corner there. That's what helps us meet our education mission. And then for the innovation side, we've got the American Cyber League on the bottom left-hand corner. And then the outreach is really the building itself. It's the Quantico Cyber Hub. So on the education piece, I think some of the points that I really want to make here is that we're creating new pathways to success for the workforce, right? So we want to transition from what you see in the top right-hand corner, which is there's nothing, nothing wrong with it, right? It's in class, it's in person. It's what I would call the traditional way of teaching. And by the way, that's an actual class going on right now across the in the classrooms that we've got here on the first floor. But want to transition away from that into what you see along the bottom, right? So these are pictures from our summer camp, but what they're really showing is moving away from the lecture-based to the project-based and to the experiential learning environment, right? So task-based objectives, classes that have kids doing hands-on, and really not just kids. I mean, we focused on the kids this summer, but as we move forward and we move into training the adults the same way, we want to move away from just sitting in a classroom and learning the book knowledge and then walking away with a certification, right? We want to be able to have somebody come from the Cyberbites Academy and people know that they have not just the book knowledge, but they've got some education or some practical application experience as well. And so to that end, the building that we've got on the first floor, we have 5 classrooms, all state of the art. We've got 60, 80-inch TVs. I think we've actually got a couple 100-inch TVs in there. Beautiful facility, great for learning, lots of light. I mean, it's all great for learning again, and it's a good entryway for us into teaching, again, as we start with just sort of these certification courses like Security Plus and Network Plus. It's a great segue, helps us get started, and then also lets us build that momentum into really doing that experiential learning. So the second part of our mission is innovation, and that's all handled really through the American Cyber League. So the American Cyber League, what I'll say is owns the second floor of our building. Each floor is about 10,000 square feet. So the labs will encompass approximately 10,000 square feet on the second floor. We're building 7 or 8 different labs, and they're really going to align with those focus areas that you see on the right. So these focus areas were chosen really because we feel the same way about these areas that we do about cybersecurity, and there are pieces of these that really have either been underrepresented or not been. We haven't been paying enough attention to them from a cybersecurity perspective, right? So quantum computing, the idea there is bringing folks in to start understanding what quantum can really do. What is its effect on cybersecurity? We've heard that it'll be able to crack passwords in a matter of mere seconds or less. And then how do we protect against that, and how do we use that to our advantage as well? The augmented and virtual reality, we've actually got a little bit of work going on, or some grant work that we're proposing there on how do you authenticate to augmented or virtual reality machines that it's a little more natural than trying to type on a keyboard, right? And still trying to keep two-factor authentication in mind so that we're not just using one single method to authenticate. So we've actually got 2 labs that we've dedicated to augmented and virtual reality. So a little bit more of a focus area for us there. The data analytics piece, looking at building that lab, some artificial intelligence work, some modeling and simulation work in there as well, and applying, again, primarily to cybersecurity. How do we model the network and simulate attacks and do those sorts of things? Wargaming's in there, and then hardware and software integration. We're also looking at talking to partners about bringing 5G into the building. So not just the hardware, but also the signal as well, right? So we can take advantage of the signal that's coming in, as well as let our members really kind of play on the equipment and help secure 5G. To that end, the ACL is a membership-based organization. We have about 1,000 members right now. Our membership is composed of individuals. We've got small and large businesses. We have those large and small businesses are some are government contractors and some are commercial companies. So we've got a pretty good mix, I think, of both in there. We've got academic institutions that we've partnered with. We've also got other nonprofits. And then we even have some government folks that are members of the American Cyber League. And really everybody there is interested, as the consortium, very interested in helping solve tough problems in cybersecurity. And so the labs are available to our members for that purpose. And then we do fund the research in these labs using grants and or government contracts. Some of the partnerships that we've developed so far and that we look to actually kind of continue to build and grow, election security is one of them. So bottom right-hand corner, sitting in the lobby of our building as you walk in is a voting machine. So we've partnered with the Election Integrity Foundation. We have agreements in place with them, and we're going to start looking at how we can help secure the election infrastructure and voters in general. So really been a great partnership to date. As a matter of fact, we've got some other stuff going on aside from helping to host Hack the Capitol today. We've also got some folks coming in to check out the election security part of our labs as well. The other partnership that we're building and really applies here today is through industrial control systems and then critical infrastructure. So for those that have been over to track 3, the picture on the bottom left-hand corner probably looks very familiar because that's what you're probably seeing through the camera feed right now are the 2 walls, the ICS walls there. So we've got what I'll call a semi-permanent home. We've offered space and then we're in the process of putting an MOU in place with the ICS Village as well to do the same thing, right? So build an ecosystem here around industrial control systems and critical infrastructure security, and bring the researchers and go after the money to be able to do that research and really support that that important work that we've got there. So on the outreach part, I would say the outreach is probably, I think if you talk to any of the staff members here, the outreach is really probably the most fun. We've done, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, we do actually really what we do a variety of things using the building itself. So the Quantico Cyber Hub is the name of the building. As I mentioned earlier, we are in Stafford. We're just outside the back gate of Quantico, so we're only about 35 miles south of Washington, D.C. Puts us in a really ideal location. Just given some of the folks that are here, the organizations. We've got a lot of government contractors down here. We've got the Marine Corps is I think probably the most obvious tenant, if you will, of the area. But really, it's not just about the government folks. Although again, with the Marine Corps, there's DEA, there's FBI, there's a few unmasked agencies that are down in this general area. But on the commercial side as well, and even on the state and local government. So we've got partnerships with Stafford and the economic development folks, and working on some smart city projects with them, and then working with first responders in the local area. So it's not just about sort of the DoD market, although that is a very important and a relatively large piece of who we support. But in the outreach in the community, we try to really get the word out about what we're doing, provide space, provide the ability for youth and veterans to come in, use the facility, take advantage of what we have here, and then with the ultimate goal of really growing the workforce, right? So if I can capture the attention of a youth in a K through 12 program, get them interested in STEM and/or cybersecurity, continue to engage them, we've made a significant impact on that child's life. And we did that a little bit this summer with the youth programs that we ran. So we actually ran 3 summer camps. We were only going to run 2. Those 2 summer camps were actually the picture you see on the top there. One was for a youth organization called the Young Marines. And we had them come in. We taught them how to build and fly drones, which is what you see there on the screen. They built some robotics also there in that picture. And then we gave them an introduction to cybersecurity. We gave them an introduction to Python. And then throughout the course of the week, we also brought in mentors and CEOs. And because it was Young Marines, they had some active duty Marines that showed up as well, and really gave the kids an idea of not just what they can do now, but where there are viable paths for them to take and get them interested in a career. And so we did that as I mentioned, with the Young Marines. The second program we ran was similar. We learned some lessons on the first one, made some improvements, and got the kids now from the local community involved, and brought about 20 kids in from the local community and ran the same program. Great program. Kids enjoyed it. I think the staff really enjoyed it. The parents certainly enjoyed it, and I think it really just did a whole lot of great things for the community. Those 2 were very successful, so much so that we decided kind of in an ad hoc manner to run a 3rd program, and we switched it up. We wound up running the 3rd one as a 3D printing camp. And so we built a curriculum around additive manufacturing, taught the kids how to build and troubleshoot 3D printers, which we got some great support from a local Virginia company called iMade 3D. Makes some jelly box printers. They're really cool. Kids loved them. And I failed to mention on the other youth programs, but very similar between all 3 programs is the kids got to go home with everything. So the first 2 sets of kids went home with drones and robots, and on the 3D programming camp, they went home with a jelly box printer. So now they're enabled with the printer, go home and continue to play and learn on it. And one young lady, as a matter of fact, we found out has already started her own little business taking orders and printing 3D parts, right? So that's one of the things we like to do on the youth program side. And then as we move forward, we're going to be looking to do youth programs after school, weekend programs to continue to engage the school or engage the kids and really help the schools out during COVID as everyone pivots to online learning, which is tough for everybody. In top left-hand corner, CTFs. We've hosted a few CTFs here. They're pretty fun. I personally like kind of hosting those, bringing everybody in. watching everybody compete. So Grim had one here early on back in November. I guess it's been almost a year now. We hosted one for Leidos, which is what you see in those pictures there. We've got a couple more planned, and we really are also trying to in combining the two, the youth programs and the CTFs, looking to host some high school students through the Cyber Patriots program as well. Partnership events is another part of our outreach, and that's a almost live or semi-live, I guess, picture of the command center on the folks, all the volunteers there, the staff here, the foundation that's running the back end of all of this today. So I'm super proud and grateful for the work that they're doing. But we've done this. We've hosted a couple other events, DEF CON. We supported the Voting Village during DEF CON, and then we had a lot of the ICS Village stuff here as well during DEF CON. So if you saw or played with Howdy Neighbor, that was sitting in our facility during that program. And then on the bottom, every month we run Cyberbites networking events. And these events are really meant to bring interesting topics to our members, right? So we've done everything from CMMC early on. And so we had representatives from Katie Arrington's office in the facility talking to our members about, hey, here's what CMMC is all about, here's what you can expect, et cetera. We ran a 3-part series, as a matter of fact, on that, and we continue to do some education around CMMC. We've done, the last one we had was actually with Hari Hursty, and then we had a CISA representative, and then the local CIO for the election department in Virginia, all on a panel talking about election security. And so that picture there is Hari, Brian, and myself sitting in front of all the election equipment that we have in the facility. This month, as a matter of fact, next week, if you're interested, we're hosting this month's Cyberbites networking event, and this one is really focused on industrial control, smart cities. It's in partnership with Stafford Economic Development, and we've got a great panel lined up to talk about different innovation ideas, security around smart and connected cities and bases, and then a few other topics, entrepreneurship and how to get involved, and those kinds of things. So great topic. We are going to host a few people in the facility, but most of it's going to be virtual. So we've slowly been getting back to in-person events. Even with the summer camps, as I mentioned, we had brought 20 kids, but we had at least 8 to 10 feet in between every kid. Everybody was wearing masks unless they were sitting at their desks. So being super careful about it, but at the same time trying to re-engage where we can. So these Cyberbites networking events are a great way for us to stay connected with our membership and really get them some of the information and the knowledge that I think they would be looking for from us. And so this is really just sort of a small snapshot of all the different outreach programs, that we have. And as I mentioned, I'm spending a little bit more time here, I think probably because it's some of our favorite work that we do. But we've also hosted Girls in STEM events. And then, of course, we provide our facility to government agencies for meetings, typically at no cost. So if anybody's interested in hosting a meeting, we've got the Marine Corps that comes in and uses it. Defense Acquisition University has used it a few times for curriculum review, those kinds of things. As I mentioned earlier, our classrooms are really set up and well suited for that kind of work. So really kind of our tagline with the building itself, which is the artist rendering there in the bottom right-hand corner. I apologize. No matter how many pictures we take of the building, we can't seem to find one that looks really, really good. So we continue to try to find that right angle that shows us, shows the greatness of the building. But that's the graphic or the artist rendering of that in the bottom right-hand corner. And we call it the Quantico Cyber Hub. Really lives up to its name. It's meant to be the hub of activity in everything that we do. And as I said, our tagline there is it's really our connection with and to our community. So different ways I think that people can get involved, and as a nonprofit, I mean, we're always looking for help. But I'll come to that one here in a little bit. But really, the number one way I think that most people will want to get involved is really through a membership, right? For those individuals, those companies, those academic institutions, government agencies that want to help as well, right? It's the innovation and problem solving ability, right? So come to our facility. You can use our labs to do the research, to showcase latest technologies, meet with clients, and basically solve problems, right? So that's really a lot of kind of what we do. and one of the best ways, I think, really to get involved. The next part is sort of the nonprofit part, right? So sponsorships. Always looking for financial support from folks who who feel aligned to our mission, right? Who want to help support the innovation, want to help support the kids, want to help support veterans. Two of our favorite sort of focus areas, the veterans and the youth. So always happy to have those conversations on folks. If anybody has a rich uncle, absolutely looking for that introduction. And for any sponsorship opportunities, you can reach out to me. You can send an email to info@Cyberbites Foundation, or you can email Matt Weaver, who's our Director of Development, directly, and it's just matt@cyberbitesfoundation.org. So that's the sponsorship piece. And really that sponsorship, by the way, doesn't, we've got different levels of sponsorship. We do different, I guess, ways to sponsor, right? So we've got specific sponsorships around camps and around youth, and you can see the fourth bullet there with the veteran and student support. That's a sponsorship as well, but we look for scholarships, again, to help our veterans and students. Committees, we do have a few committees that we run. One is our youth programs. We've got a couple that are focused on other different parts of helping us sort of run and evolve the mission of the foundation, right? So always looking for folks who are interested in volunteering, lending their expertise. I will tell you, we put our entire summer camp on and built the entire curriculum using volunteers. I am amazed at the level of support people are willing to provide to volunteer, and we're eternally grateful for all that volunteer support that we do get. So if anyone is interested, you can reach out to us for that as well. And then on the veteran student support, as I mentioned, that's part of, it kind of falls under sponsorships there as well. But really what we want to do is we look to change the way we educate folks. And I didn't really kind of go over this, but we had a young man in here as an intern the last couple of weeks or 2 weeks ago. He's a rising senior in high school, and he already has his A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus certifications, and he did it on his own, right? And as he came in and talked to us and about really volunteering, it took me 5 minutes to say, okay, absolutely, we'd love to have you. And I already knew what I wanted him to do, which was kind of help us figure out, how do I replicate him, right? So how can I get high school students interested, right? And so, and to put students through and then to transition veterans, we need scholarship money, right? Like it would be nice for us to have that money to be able to give scholarships to veterans and students to get them on that track, right? So help those two populations. And that's really kind of what that's for there. And then again, just coming up to Cyberbites networking events, poking your head in, saying hi when we get back to in person. We do, normally we'll have everybody here at the facility. We provide drinks and food. It's a great time. And then we sit down and we hear interesting talks on everything from 5G to smart cities to election security. As I mentioned, ICS is this month. As a matter of fact, Liz was a networking event hostess as well. And we talked about crisis management, right? And so great opportunity. And so if you're interested in giving a talk to our members or just showing up, we'd be happy to have you either way. So my card is there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. As I mentioned earlier, info@cyberbitesfoundation.org is also a great email address. Our website, cyberbitesfoundation.org, and then any of the social media platforms, we're on those. And I failed to put our Instagram one up there, but I can get you that one if you're interested. So as I promised Liz, we would have 5 minutes to chat at the end of my talk. So tried to stretch it to 30, but I am happy to take any questions and or just say hi.
Yeah, no, well, and we don't have any questions right now from attendees, but one of the things that as I was listening to you talk about, not that you could ever sell Cyberbites short, but really highlighting the fact that you've got the ICS Village walls up, you've got the voting village, these are the permanent kind of, when they're not out traveling, homes for these displays. Adding that element into the education aspect, be it the courses themselves, or just coming by for a networking event, you hear the experts talking about it, and then you can see it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I probably should have spent a little bit more time on that on the academy side, because that's what we want to do, right? So as we move the education from just the in-class book learning, certification earning sort of model, we want to be able to get to, okay, come sit in the class. Let's talk about ICS security, right? Like, what does that mean? Or let's talk about what election security means, or on what does this controller do in a electrical grid or in a water system, right? And then, okay, everyone, let's walk to the second floor and let's go look at it, right? Or let's remote in and we'll play with it, right? And so you're right, having all that stuff here really does. I mean, there's the research aspect to it, which is great, and it's going to help, I think, really advance sort of the art of the possible, or cybersecurity in general. But it's also going to really get the students involved, right? Get them, and that's where I was, as I spoke earlier about the hands-on experience. We now have that here, right? And we can offer something very unique that most other places can't. I'm working on. I've heard a rumor that there is a working nuclear power plant model, and I am working on getting that here as well, right? So that we're not just showing like the electrical, like what I will call the traditional electrical grid, like, but what about a nuclear, right? So, I mean, and ICS is one of my focus areas. We've got some work that we're doing that we're not quite ready to announce and talk about, but it's really got an education piece associated with it. And I think ICS is going to be at the center of all of that, and how we change the model from not just that to experiential, but the other part of the model change that we want to do is really look at, can we do something that's more OJT like, right? So can I get a high school student out of here with a baseline set of certifications, get them in the industry, bring them back after 6 or 12 or 18 months, and then continue that cycle over a couple of years and let them get out, earn, help solve problems, but still bring them back for the education and continue to evolve their education.
Well, and one of the questions that we have in the GoToWebinar is talking about the market gap in, be it perceived or real, in the cybersecurity talent. So do y'all work with the industry to say, hey, where are you seeing gaps? How can we connect those dots? Particularly, I think some of the focus y'all have on veterans as well.
Yeah, and that's a great question, and the answer is yes, we do. I can, and we'll continue to evolve how we do that. But really, part of our ecosystem as we have it, right, is on the third floor of our building, which I didn't really talk about, is really what we call sort of the operational floor. And the operational floor, in sort of in real terms, I mean, we've got a couple of companies that are headquartered up there. They're both, they both have a role in cybersecurity, and so the idea is they are a conduit into what we should be teaching and what our students are learning, right? So as the model matures and we get to where we really want the model to be, that operational floor will play a huge role in not just getting students out into the workforce, right? So it's a way to get the students a job or into the workforce, but then get the feedback from our members, right? And so whether it's our ACL members or just other industries or businesses out there that we are supporting, that they can come back and say, hey, you didn't quite teach this the right way, or hey, that was cool last year, but this year we really need to just sort of focus on this. So we're working with companies. We do have some relationships, and we're incorporating that input now, and we just hope to continue to grow that and really build out that ecosystem that is responsive to what industry needs.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And Joel, unfortunately, we're out of time. But thanks for sharing, and thanks for hosting
Our
today,
pleasure.
and as well as helping store and display the ICS Village walls.